Hi everyone, this is a video lesson on direct proportion calculations. The first questions here are your starter. Please complete these and then come back onto the video for the answers. Right, so the answers to these then, we have got, first of all, to simplify the ratios in question 1. The ratio in A can both be divided by 2, therefore giving us the simplified ratio of 1 to 2. The two numbers in B can be divided by 5, giving us the simplified ratio 1 to 5. And the two numbers in C can be divided by 3, giving us a simplified ratio 2 to 3. Question 2 is looking at the types of questions that we worked on yesterday. So looking at something, trying to get it down to the unitary value. So it takes nearly 3 hours to paint 6 pots. How many, pots does she paint in 1 hour? So we've got 3 hours, we're going to get that down to 6. So 3 hours is 6 pots. So if we do 6 divided by 3, we will find out how much she gets in 1 hour. So it's 2 pots every hour. Now again, we can use the little table in the flow chart, so we could have hours and pots. 3 hours is 6 pots, 1 hour we're dividing here by 3. So we have to do the same on the right hand side, and that would give us the same answer of 2. Okay, this flow chart is going to be important to use today. That's what we'll be doing most of our calculations with as we work through the questions today. Question 3 then was looking at our ratio calculations. So we would use the flow chart for this one and say that flour to water was the ratio 2 to 3. Okay, so that's what I'm given from the first sentence. Then we're told that Adam adds 10 parts flour. So our 10 goes underneath the flour here. What have we done from the 2 to get it up to 10? We've times it by 5. We have to do the same to the right hand side. 3 times 5 is 15. So we need 15 parts water. Okay. Hopefully those questions were okay for you. And now we're going to move on to our proportion calculations. So with each of these questions here, we are going to create a flow chart. So the questions that we did with the ratio calculations last week and the week before, we are going to use that process to do some calculations with these today. The two questions that I've got here are mainly going to be for those of you doing pink. However, everyone should listen to them just in case you struggle with the yellow or purple questions that you try to do later on. So question 1, we've got peaches and cost. Okay, so the question's all about peaches and how much they cost. Therefore, our flowchart is going to have the headings peaches and cost. Now, you could put pounds in your cost column. That would be absolutely fine as well to use that. So we're told that we have 20 peaches at a cost of 6. So we're taking the information from the question that tells us an exact value for a quantity, so £6 for 20 peaches. So how many peaches will we get for £18? So then we want to populate the next bit of this table with 18. Now we need to decide whether that's 18 peaches or £18. Well, it's £18, so it goes on the right hand side. Then we have a look at our calculation. 6 up to 18. Now the main thing here is we always have to either multiply or divide in these tables. We can't add or subtract. So 6 up to 18, we have to times that there by 3. And we'll do the same on the other side. Multiply the 20 by 3, giving us then 60 as the answer. As before, when we did the ratio calculations, we want to take that number out to the side and put it in the context of the question. So I would get 60 peaches in question 1 for £18. Question 2. In this case, we are told Sam takes 4 hours to make 12 cakes. So in this case, we are using our headings hours and cakes. Okay. Now you'll see why I then decided when we were doing the ratio calculations to use these headings, okay, because it comes in really handy when we do the flowcharts. So how long would it take Sam to make 6 cakes? Well, we need to populate this table. 4 hours and 12 cakes is the piece of information that we have from the question. I'm now looking to work out how much it would take to make, how long it would take to make 6 cakes. So my 6 has to go in the cakes section. And then we've got to work out what calculation has been done. Now, we looked at multiplying when we did the ratio calculations, and we looked at dividing when we did our calculations yesterday or last period. Therefore, we can do either or, so we could either multiply or we could divide to do our calculations. Now, 12 down to 6, well 6 is smaller than 12, so we can't possibly multiply here. Yes, you could use decimals, but you want to try and keep it whole numbers. So in this case, we've divided, and we've divided by 2. We have to do that to the other side as well. 4 divided by 2 gives me an answer of 2, and therefore I can say it will take 2 hours to make 6 cakes. Okay, I'm using the flowcharts here just to tie all this together with what we did with ratio and what we're about to do with the next 2 questions. So bear that in mind. I know the calculations are quite simple, but those of you doing pink will probably do okay with these, right? So we're just starting off nice and easy to ease us in. Right, question 3 and 4 are slightly trickier. They require a lot more calculations, but they start off very similar. So in question 3, we are told that it takes 5 hours on average, and that on average is quite an important point there. It takes 5 hours on average for Francis to drive 30 miles. Okay, back to it. So 5 hours and 300 miles. So our table is going to be hours on one side and miles on the other. Doesn't matter which side of the table you put these on, as long as you put the correct numbers underneath the correct headings. So 5 hours here takes us 300 miles. Now, we need to try and find out how far Francis can drive in 7 hours. Now you'll notice I've left a gap between the 5 and the 7. There's no possible way that I can multiply 5 or divide 5 by some number, some whole number, to get 7. Yes, there's decimals, whatever. We're not using decimals, only whole numbers here. So what I'm going to do instead is to work out a middle value. And in this case, I'll make the middle value 1. Most of the time you'll make the middle value 1, because that's generally the easiest way, because it keeps everything the same. So I'm going to try and see, well, if it takes 5 hours to drive 300 miles, how many miles can we go in 1 hour? So I'm using the intermediate, the middle step, on the side that I want to calculate, that I want to use to do my calculations. So 5 down to 1, divide it by 5. Let's do the same to the other side. 300 divided by 5 will give us 60. So in 1 hour, Francis can travel 60 miles. Then if we go from the 1 up to the 7, 1 up to 7, we've got to times that by 7 to get up there. So we'll do the same to the right hand side. 60 times 7 will give us 400 So therefore, in 7 hours, Francis can drive 420 miles. Now this process here is the one that we're going to continue to use. I want you to use it for each question that you complete on direct proportion. That way you will always use the same method and you will always get to the same answer. If you look at the steps that I've done, dividing by 5, then timesing by 7. I've also done those exact same steps on the right hand side, dividing by 5, then timesing by 7, using the 1 as the intermediate middle step. So the next one here, we've got to do food or kilograms of food and how many cats they're going to feed. So we'll say our 2 headings will be food and cats. Okay, so first question here, what are we told in the question? 12 kilograms of food feeds 8 cats. Okay, so that's what we're told. That's the information we are given at the very beginning of this question. 2 parts to this question. The first part here, we are looking to find out how many cats can 10 kilograms of food feed. So my end goal with question A is to get down to 10 kilograms of food. So 10 on the left hand side. Again, I'm going to use the intermediate step of 1 and try and work out my calculations from there. So I would always put that 1 in the middle of your 2 numbers that you know and then do your calculations. So 12 down to 1. We're dividing that by 12. Some of these you will have to use a calculator for. That's absolutely fine. Use the calculator on your phone. So in this case, we are doing 8. Do the same thing here. Divide it by 12. This isn't going to work out to a nice number, but we'll have to round it at the end. That's perfectly fine. So when we do that, 8 divided by 12 gives us 0.666 and so on. Okay? But our next calculation, we've got to multiply that by 10. Because we've got to go from 1 up to 10. So do the same on the right hand side. Now 0.666666 and so on times 10 gives us 6.6666 blah, 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 and so on. Okay. Now let's put this in the context of the question. That's always what we've got to do at the end. We are looking for how many full cats we can feed with 10 kilograms of food. Our number here has given us a decimal of 6 point something. That point something does not matter. 0.6 of a cat is not a full cat, therefore we can't feed any more than 6. So in this case it's 6 cats. Now your questions you do in the worksheet won't be as complicated as A here, and in fact B isn't even as complicated as A. Okay, that's just a little context, putting it back into the context of the question at the end. Part B is part of the same question, therefore we're using the same flowchart and the same table. So we've got food and cats again, and we go back to what we had first of all in the question. 12 kilograms of food feeds 8 cats. Now, what are we looking for part B? We're looking to feed 6 cats. So our 6 has to go on the right hand side in the cats column, with our 1 as our intermediate step in the middle. Then we perform our calculations, 8 down to 1. We've got to divide by 8, so we have to do that also on the left hand side. 12 divided by 8, giving us 1.5. 1 up to 6, we've had to times here by 6. Do the same on the food side, 1.5 times 6. Giving us our final number of 9. Therefore, putting it back into the context, what is 9 actually representing? It's 9 kilograms of food. Okay, so it's quite a lot of work to do for these questions here. For purples, that will be the type of questions you'll be doing. Yellows, it'll be a mixture of, some of them will be split up. So it will say, right, 5 hours to drive 300 miles. How far can they drive in 1 hour? And then up to 7. Okay, so yellows, you'll still be doing the same calculations as these ones here, but you'll be doing them slightly split up and they'll be in a slightly easier context. Purple, these are the types of questions you will see, and pinks, you'll be doing questions like this, just one-step questions. Okay. As usual, all your instructions and work is on the Teams page. Can you go there just now, please, and complete the relevant questions based on your level? Okay, thank you everyone. Please let me know how you get on.